Their playful adventures and classic charm made many people happy over the years. The colorful cast that used to light up the screen, on the other hand, slowly faded away over time, leaving behind laughter and sad memories. Today we'll talk about the last member of this well-known and liked group who is still alive. She is a living link to a golden age of Hollywood. What does he look like? What has he been doing with his life since those famous times? Let's watch some of the group members of the Little Rascal tell their stories before we start to figure out the last man standing. We'll start with Billy Froggy Laughlin, whose unique voice would become one of the most recognizable parts of later episodes of our gang. Billy was born in San Gabriel, California on July 5th, 1932. The world was in the middle of the Great Depression at the time. His early life, which was marked by his family's strength during these hard times, shaped the determined and happy personality that would later win over crowds across the country. Before he joined our group, Billy had a natural gift for making people laugh that made him stand out from his friends. His famous frog-like voice didn't come from being told to by the studio, it came from his own creativity. As a kid, he would spend hours practicing his Popeye impressions, making his friends laugh by using different voices until he came up with the one that would become his trademark. Casting directors noticed this real ability and saw that it could be used to make funny moments that people would remember. When Billy joined our gang in 1940, it was during a very important time of change for the show. The cast of the show had to find new actors to play parts that older actors could no longer play. Billy's unique singing skills and natural charm gave the show the new energy it needed. When he first showed up, he got people's attention right away, and managers knew right away that they had found something special. During his time on the show, Billy's froggy character grew into a lot more than just a voice trick. His croaking delivery made even the most ordinary lines funnier. He played a smart and resourceful kid. For such a young actor, his scenes with other cast members showed amazing timing. He also had a wide range for a kid actor because he could switch between his natural voice and the voice of a character. Actually, Billy had a very normal childhood, even though he was becoming more famous. His parents made him go to John Marshall Jr. High School in Los Angeles when he wasn't shooting so he could keep up with his schoolwork. Next is Carl Alfalfa Switzer, whose role as the singer who is always in love and always off-key became one of our gang's most memorable pictures. Carl was born on August 7th, 1927, in Paris, Illinois. His rise to fame started on a family vacation that would completely change the history of entertainment. At first, the Switzer family's trip to California in 1934 seemed like any other trip. Carl and his brother Harold, who were already well known in the area for their musical skills, stopped by the Hal Roach Studios restaurant on their trip around Los Angeles. The brothers put on a show for the people in the restaurant out of the blue. Hal Roach, the producer, was there and saw right away how skilled these kids were, especially Carl, who had a unique presence and natural comedic timing. Carl started changing into Alfalfa when he first showed up in the show. His famous cowlick, which would become one of the most recognizable wigs in show business history, wasn't planned at first. The unique hair standing straight up happened by accident while shooting, and producers saw right away that it could be used for comedy. This physical trait, along with Carl's natural ability to play both the romantic dreamer and the comic foil, made him a character that people would remember for a long time. Carl's growing acting skills were shown by how Alfalfa's character changed over the course of the series. Some of the most memorable parts of the show were his love pursuits of Darla, his tense relationship with Butch, and his hilariously misguided belief in his singing abilities. There was a lot of spark between Carl and George Spanky McFarland, which led to a lot of stories about their adventures and friendship. But behind the scenes, Carl faced problems that would affect his later years. Even though he was one of the show's key draws, his weekly pay stayed low around $40 at his peak, and he never won much. Even though this person was important during the Great Depression, it turned out to be too little when compared to what he did to help the show succeed. As he got older, the strict rules about taking care of his looks, especially the famous cowlick, became more and more difficult. Life after our gang was especially hard for Carl. Even though he got parts in well-known movies like It's a Wonderful Life and Track of the Cat, he had a hard time avoiding being typecast. Directors and audiences had a hard time seeing past his Alfalfa image, which made him more and more frustrated and caused him to have money problems. His efforts to make a name for himself in other fields, like as a dog trainer and a hunting guide, were not always successful. Carl's last few years show how hard life can be for people who used to be kid stars. His adult years were marked by problems with money and relationships. On January 21st, 1959, he was killed in a fight over a $50 debt for a hunting dog. It was a sad end to a life that had once looked so bright. The fact that he was shot during a fight in a home in Mission Hills, California, was very different from the innocent charm he had brought to American movies. Now we'll talk about Darla Hood. She added grace and charm to the Our Gang series. Darla was born on November 8, 1931, in Leedy, Oklahoma. Her mother's big dreams and unwavering support helped her become a star. Darla and her mother took a risky trip to New York City when she was only 3 years old to look for work in the show business. When Darla was performing at the Edison Hotel, her amazing ability became clear. There, casting director Joe Rivkin saw her and thought she would be a good fit for Our Gang. Her first role in 1935's Our Gang Follies of 1,936 Inches was the start of an amazing run that helped define the show's golden age. Darla showed a lot of versatility during her time with our group, going far beyond the typical leading lady part. Many episodes were better because of her musical skills, and her acts were very poised for someone so young. In The Pinch Singer, her performance of I'm in the Mood for Love is still one of the most memorable musical moments. Some of the most entertaining plots in the show were those involving Darla and her on-screen admirers, especially Alfalfa, Butch, and Waldo. She had acting skills beyond her years because she was able to keep her characters' respect while putting them in more and more funny situations. The natural chemistry she had with the other actors in the show helped create scenes of real youth interactions that people could relate to. It wasn't easy for Darla, but she made it through the change from kid star to adult performer after Our Gang. She formed a singing group called the Enchanters when she was in high school to show off her long-lasting musical skills. Her work grew to include performances in nightclubs, TV appearances, and recording sessions. She showed a level of versatility that many former child stars found hard to achieve. Darla had 3 kids and 2 marriages in her personal life, which shows the normal ups and downs of adult life outside of fame. She kept in touch with people from her Our Gang days by planning gatherings and taking part in many retrospectives about the show. Being honest about the good and bad things that happened to her as a child star helped people learn more about this unique time in showbiz history. Darla's sad life ended too soon in 1979 when she developed heart failure after having an appendectomy. Hepatitis C, which she got from a blood transfer during surgery, later caused her death at age 47. The timing was especially strange because she was planning another hour-long get-together with the gang. Next, we'll look at the amazing life of William Billy Thomas Jr., whose role as Buckwheat tested and showed how race worked in America during the Great Depression. He was born in sunny Los Angeles, California on March 12, 1931. Back then, African-American artists didn't have many chances, and stereotypes often kept them from getting parts. However, Billy's time in Hollywood showed more than just those problems. It showed how the country was slowly dealing with issues of diversity and portrayal in the media. It wasn't a normal path for Billy to join Our Gang. In his first movie in 1934, he was just a background figure. But he quickly became famous when he played a part that was meant for a girl. He did start out as a girl, Buckwheat. The part was first played by Carlina Beard, but when Billy took over, it became a famous one. In the beginning, Buckwheat's clothes were mostly girly like they were when they were first thought of. Billy wore dresses and bows. The figure changed as he got older, getting rid of the old costume and replacing it with something that felt more like him. Buckwheat became more than just a cartoon character thanks to Billy. He broke the rules of the time by giving the figure heart, humor, and a connection to real life. People loved Billy because he was naturally funny, and the way he delivered his lines was remarkable. Who could forget the famous ode he made? It became more than just a term, it became a part of our culture. Another great thing about him was his friendship with Porky. They had heartwarming moments of real childhood connection that went beyond race and told viewers that we are all human. Billy shocked everyone by stepping away from the spotlight after he left our group. He gave up writing Hollywood scripts and joined the U.S. Army when he was only 23 years old. He won awards like the National Defense Service Medal and the Good Conduct Medal for his hard work, which is similar to how he worked hard as an actor. Billy found a quieter, more stable job in the entertainment business after his time in the service was over. This time, he worked for Technicolor as a film lab worker behind the scenes. It wasn't flashy, but it kept him in touch with the world he grew up in and kept him from having to deal with the stresses of fame. In his later years, Billy fought to protect Buckwheat's name. He wasn't afraid to speak out when he thought the character was being portrayed incorrectly, especially during Eddie Murphy's controversial parody on Saturday Night Live. It was clear from how calm and well thought out his answers were that he really understood how Buckwheat had affected entertainment history, not just as a part, but also as a sign of both progress and setback. On October 10th, 1980, Billy Thomas Jr.'s amazing life came to an end. He had a heart attack and died in Los Angeles. He was only 49 years old. His life was tragically cut short, but his legacy lives on. The name stuck, and soon it was linked to one of the show's most beloved characters. Another thing that makes Stymie stand out is his derby hat. It wasn't just a costume piece. Stan Laurel gave it to her as a gift. That hat, that was too big on him quickly became part of his charm, helping to describe what makes him special. Along with his quick comedy timing and skill at delivering even the hardest lines, Stymie stood out as one of the best actors on the show. Without anyone knowing, Stymie's earnings were very important for his family of 13 brothers. Like a lot of kid actors at the time, he felt the stress of having to make the most money at such a young age. Even with all of these duties, his performances were always real, heartfelt, and fun. But it wasn't easy to live after Our Gang. Stymie had a hard time becoming an adult, which is a problem that a lot of kid actors have. In his teens, he became addicted to heroin. It lasted for many years and threatened to overshadow his early success. In spite of his problems, Stymie did not let them define him. His story turned into one of healing and strength. After that, he went back to playing and got parts in popular TV shows like Good Times, Sanford and Son, and The Jeffersons. During his role in the Buddy Holly story, he wore his famous derby hat. It was a sweet nod to his time in Our Gang. These appearances made everyone remember how talented and charming he was. Even more seriously, Stymie used his own problems to make a mission to help other people. He went all over the country telling people about his journey and giving them hope. Because he was honest and dedicated, his pain turned into something good, which changed the lives of many people. Stymie died in January 1981, not long after his 56th birthday, which was very sad. He died after having a stroke and falling. Because he was a famous figure who made a lot of people happy. He was buried with his famous derby hat. Stymie's life was full of fame, hardship, and hope, but he will always be remembered as an important member of Our Gang's past. George Spanky McFarland is the next group member. Spanky was born George Robert Phillips McFarland on October 2nd, 1928, in Dallas, Texas. He had a big personality and natural charm that made everyone like him. He made a name for himself as a kid model and in local ads for Wonder Bread before he got his big break in movies. That changed everything when his Aunt Dottie sent pictures of him to Hal Roach Studios. They cast him in the unforgettable part of Spanky. It wasn't just a stage name that people called him Spanky. His mom gave it to him because she thought it was great for his curious and fun personality. It became a word for the nice boss of the He-Man Women Haters Club. During his time in Our Gang, he had a lot of fun and made memories for himself and people all over the world. Spanky chose to stay away from the cameras when his time with Our Gang was over. He started a new part of his life when he joined the Air Force when he was 24 years old. The change wasn't easy though. He had a hard time getting work because of his childhood fame, so he did odd jobs to make ends meet. Still, Spanky was able to connect with his fans again by going on college trips and telling stories from his time on the Little Rascals. People liked his sense of humor and nostalgia, which showed that his charm never went away. He enjoyed golf more as he got older and even used it to help others by playing in charity events. Spanky's rare TV outings made everyone remember how popular he was in the first place. His 1993 appearance on Cheers as a Surprise was a cute nod to his famous past. He died that same year, which was sad. Hollywood did honor him by giving him a star on the Walk of Fame in January 1994. It was a proper tribute to the happiness he brought to so many people. Eugene Porky Lee, who played Spanky's cute little brother, next. Eugene was born on October 25, 1933, in Fort Worth, Texas. He got to Hollywood by accident. Producers were interested in him because he looked a lot like Spanky. Soon, he was moving to California to join the group even though he was only 18 months old. Eugene was a fan favorite and was in 42 shows from 1935 to 1939. The studio gave him the name Porky. He tried to keep playing a little kid, but a growth spurt made it hard for him. And another young actor finally took his place. Eugene had a hard time getting used to everyday life after he left Hollywood. He even changed his name to Gordon Lee to get away from his playing days, even though people made fun of him and gave him problems. He found a new calling in teaching and became a popular teacher at Broomfield High School in Colorado. After many years, Eugene went back to his roots as a member of Our Gang. He attended reunions and ran a small company related to his character. He lived out the last few years of his life in Minnesota with his family and partner. Even though Eugene died on October 16, 2005, his work as Porky goes on. Finally, let's meet Sidney Kebrick, the only one of our group still alive. The person was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota on July 2, 1928. Sidney's path to becoming an actress was easy. He was found in a theater and became famous in Hollywood very quickly. We know him most for playing William, Butch's loyal sidekick who caused all kinds of trouble on the show. From 1937 to 1939, they made people laugh and get into trouble together. Once his time as William was over, Sidney chose to stop acting and start a new journey. He found his niche in building homes, and there he had a successful career. He moved away from Hollywood, but he never forgot where he came from. He stayed in touch with our gang family and often went to parties and other events honoring the show. He even started going to fan conventions all the time, where his stories and friendly nature made everyone feel welcome. Our group enjoyed its 100th anniversary in 2022, and Sydney was right in the middle of the fun. He was recognized for more than just his work on the show. His life showed that being successful isn't just about being famous. Sydney shared touching memories of his time on set at the event and thanked everyone for letting him be a part of something so loved. Sydney, who is now in his mid-90s, lives a quiet life but is still loved as a link to a bygone age of Hollywood. He spends his days with his family and friends and sometimes tells stories about the bad things he does on TV. Sydney's impact as a member of our gang lives on, even though he is no longer acting, blessing many generations with happiness. Which episode of The Little Rascals is your favorite? Share your thoughts below. Don't forget to like this movie and subscribe to the channel for more fun looks back at the best times in Hollywood history.